What I'm going to put up, I've only got 3, but the stories that go with it are fantastic for you. And I actually talked, when was it? May, June, the next month. June last year, after these happy snaps were taken, I had to deliver a PD. It was a series of lessons that I was doing with a mob of schools down Williamstown way. And I can remember I was so the nice word for full of myself about the slides I'm going to show you, that I wove it into what we were talking about. And I can remember that I didn't have any slides because I thought, well, I wasn't thinking like big boy stuff about you show your happy snaps. But I can remember the teachers making a big fuss and saying to me, you should tell teachers about that. That's a fabulous message for teachers to realise with kids because of the situation that I found myself in. When I was thinking about it last night, I thought, not only is it good for kids, but it's good for people like you who are in a position where you have to do really hard stuff. You have to go back and get people to come on board for something that they may not want to come on board for. You have to get people who are a long way, behind modern thinking to come up here and be with us, or to take the first step on a journey. So you're wondering, what are these happy snaps? Wait till you see, you're not going to believe it. And it's very, very, what does it mean? Timely. This is me in May last year, about day 1 into the Kokoda track. I was still smiling and there's not an enormous amount of sweat on me at that stage. I think I even had fresh socks on and my underwear was clean. The stuff there at the top, find your pace and keep your pace. When I went on the Kokoda track, I was not stupid enough to carry my own pack, and I hired a kid who in the end turned out to be a 19-year-old, a porter that came with me. And he, probably supporting an enormous family, but he used to, when I was struggling along, because the group I was with, I'm pretty old as you can see, and the group I was with were, almost everybody on it was younger than me. There was a whole bunch of firemen, can you believe it? A whole bunch of firemen running along, puffing and heaving, trying to overtake each other, and me up the back. And a couple of girls who were trying to catch up to the firemen, of course, younger women. Which I would have done had I, not been in this body. But this porter kept sidling up to me when I was, sweating and grunting my way through on the first, within about the first couple of hours, really. And that poor bloke the other day, it was first day, and he carked it on his way back. Yeah, I can understand why. Terrible thing. Don't ever do it if you're not there's a reason. Don't do it. It's a terrible experience. But I'm one of the ones that had to do it for personal reason. But this 19-year-old kid that, he'd left school when he was in about year 4 or something, and had very little English other than what he needed in order to get old ladies along the Kokoda track. And he used to, when I was sweating and puffing and heaving and, saying obscenities into the air about why would I even be here, he would come up alongside me and he'd say, find your pace, find your pace. Find your pace, my pace, not the pace of the fireman, not the pace of the ladies who are chasing after the fireman, not his pace, my pace, find my pace. Over and over he kept saying it until, in the end, under your breath, you tell him what you think about your pace and his pace and everything about New Guinea and the Kokoda track. Anyway, I listened, because that's about all you can do, listen and walk, listen and walk. Find your pace. And then every so often when I become exhausted and slow right down, he'd sidle up next to me and say, keep your pace, keep your pace. That I wasn't to be compared to anyone else in the group, but having recognised the pace I was working at, it was important for me to keep my pace, keep on going, not to conk out, not to slow down, not to go so fast that I exhaust myself and I can't go on the next day, not to go so slow that I fall so far behind everybody else that I'm never going to make it. I had to identify what I was capable of doing, my pace, and I had to maintain my pace for myself. Keep that in mind. Keep your pace, find your pace and keep your pace. Not a bad message to feed to kids, and the same for you when you're out there doing what you have to do with schools. Some schools are going to allow you to move at a faster pace than other schools. Some teachers are going to allow you to move at a faster pace than other teachers. You need to work out what works for you. It's no good some person like me or even someone from the region or, go as high as you like, coming out and telling you your school must do this by this date. You need to work within the confines of the school environment that you're in. And when, if you're giving this message to teachers, the same with kids. Find out the kids' pace and work at the kids' pace. Don't leave them behind on the track because you've pushed them on a pace that's too fast, or left them behind because you let them have a slow pace. So this was me, a very happy girl, and you can see I wasn't actually, well, they call it a cancer group. There was a lady on there that had a brain tumour, and for some reason her lifelong ambition was to do the Kokoda track, and she succeeded. She was carried for half of it by a lot of the guides, but she made it. I was with them, but I wasn't part of that mob. This is the other bit of news. The guide on the Kokoda track, the porter, I'd say to him, after you'd been struggling along for about 5 hours, and all you do is go up, 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 and you'd say next morning, okay, so what's today going to be like? And he'd look away into the distance and he'd say, a little bit up, a little bit down. He was lying, of course. There was no down, I don't think. But that's what life's going to be like for you, and that's what life is like with education, for all of us. And you've got to recognise that. It's not all up and it's not all down. Each day is going to be made up of a little bit up and a little bit down. Each one of the experiences that you're going to have with the staff out there. Some staff, it's going to be easygoing, some staff it's not. Life is made up of a little bit up and a little bit down. And all you can do, in my case here, is hang onto the rope, scream obscenities, and hope that, they drag you across to the other side somehow. I look like I'm having great fun, hey? I hadn't realised that the Kokoda track actually doesn't exist in places, it's just like it ends and you look and there's a river and you think, oh, right, where's the track go? Well, there it is. They throw the rope across and you just drag yourself across. A little bit up and a little bit down. Everything in life. And when I got to the end, I didn't go back to that porter. When I established my pace, which was an incredibly slow pace, he used to come after about day 2 and he'd say to me partway through the going, tomorrow the little bit up and the little bit down is going to be quite long. It's like 8 hours or 9 hours for the firemen running through the forest. And he'd say, with your pace, everyone else will be leaving at 6:30. Your pace, we'll have to be prepared to leave at 5:30. 5:30. We'll have to only have 10-minute break, and for lunch, we'll try and get there just as they're setting up for lunch, the porters that run on ahead. We'll have lunch quickly, we'll only have a 10-minute break, and then we'll go on again. We'll have lots of little breaks, but we'll need to keep moving. We'll start at least an hour before everyone, and we'll get into camp probably an hour and a half, 2 hours after everyone. Now, I knew right from the start of the day that's what my pace was. He knew my pace. He didn't once say, you are too old and too slow and your pace is too useless, you're not going to make it. He just came and he adjusted the track to my pace and told me that I was going to have to make some sacrifices in order to get to the destination. But there was no way that I wouldn't get to the destination. I just had to recognise that given my the situation, that I was going to have to do a little bit differently to other people. Think about that in relation to the struggling kids in your classes that are out there. That if they're aware that you have confidence that they will make it, it's just that we have to do a slightly different track in order to get you there. We have to maybe do it a little bit slower, get up a little bit earlier, put in a little bit of extra effort. They may, have to do a little bit more times table practice at night. They might have to do 4 examples of things they might have rather than 2 examples. The thing has to be adjusted to them, but that they realise that they'll get there eventually.